The day the Galactic Empire attacked Earth began with silence. No one expected the sky to burn. The people of Earth lived their ordinary lives. Children went to school, workers traveled to their jobs, and families enjoyed their mornings. Then, without warning, the stars above turned red. From deep space, massive ships appeared. They were black, cold, and glowing with alien energy. The Varn Dominion, rulers of half the galaxy, had come. When the first bombardment started, no one understood what was happening. Cities disappeared in bright light. Oceans boiled. The ground shook as if the planet itself cried in pain. Within hours, entire nations were gone. The orbital defense systems tried to respond, but the Empire's technology was beyond anything humanity had seen. Lasers cut through the atmosphere, vaporizing continents. The air filled with ash and screams. Lieutenant Han Jamian was stationed on Mars, serving with the Terran Defense Force. He had grown up in Busan, and his family still lived on Earth. When he saw the feeds from the satellites, his heart froze. His home, his family, everything he knew, gone in seconds. The Mars Command Center filled with panic. Communications with Earth were lost. Jamin stared at the burning planet through the glass window of the base. It looked like a dying sun. Commander Kim So-ra, leader of the Mars Defense Command, ordered an emergency council. The remaining officers gathered in a small, dimly lit room. The air smelled of metal and fear. She stood tall, her face calm but her eyes filled with pain. "We don't know why they attacked," she said quietly. "But we do know what they did. 10 billion dead. Earth is burning. We cannot forgive this." Silence filled the room. No one spoke for a long time. They all knew the truth. Humanity had lost its home. The Galactic Empire had shown no mercy, but in that silence something grew inside them. Rage. It was not the rage of panic or fear. It was the deep, cold rage of a species pushed to the edge. Jamin looked at So-ra. "What do we do now?" he asked. His voice was weak but steady. So-ra's answer was short. "We fight." Mars became the heart of the survivors. Ships that had been meant for trade and exploration were turned into warships. Colonies across the solar system sent what they could. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn became gathering points for refugees and engineers. On Titan, a secret project began. The surviving military leaders formed a new command group, led by Admiral Park Hee-jin. She was older than most of them, a woman known for her cold logic and unshakable discipline. Under her orders, humanity united for the first time. Scientists, soldiers, and workers came together with one goal: to strike back. They called it Operation Alien Extinction. It was not a plan of peace. It was a promise of revenge. Jamin worked with the engineering teams on Titan. He helped test new weapon systems created from the wreckage of captured alien drones. They learned fast. Humans were good at adapting, and their anger gave them strength. Days turned into months. The survivors grew fewer but stronger. They had lost their planet but not their will. Every night Jamin looked up at the stars. Somewhere among them, the Varn Dominion lived in comfort, believing Earth was gone forever. He imagined their cities shining, their leaders celebrating. The thought burned inside him. He remembered his little sister who had always dreamed of seeing the stars. She was gone now, like so many others. He swore he would make the stars remember her name. Commander So-ra visited Titan often to inspect the progress. She and Jamin spent many long nights working in silence side by side. There was respect between them and something deeper, a shared grief that words could not express. She would sometimes whisper, "They think we are finished. They don't know us." And Jamin would nod, knowing she was right. The first sign of hope came when a research team on Europa found a way to break the Varn energy shield technology. With that discovery, the humans finally had a weapon that could hurt their enemy. Admiral Hye-jin ordered all remaining colonies to send resources to Titan. They began constructing new ships designed not to explore but to kill. The first prototype was built in secret. It was black, sharp, and silent. It could move through space without detection. The engineers named it Black Phoenix. The name spread quickly among the survivors. It meant rebirth from ashes, the same way humanity would rise again. As the ship neared completion, the people of the colonies began to believe again. Messages were sent across the hidden networks. "We will return. We will make them pay." The Galactic Empire, meanwhile, ignored the human survivors. To them, Earth was finished, a forgotten world. They had destroyed countless species before. Humanity was just another name on their long list of victories. Their mistake was believing that fear would keep humans silent. On the day Black Phoenix launched, the people of Titan gathered to watch. Jamin stood at the edge of the hangar, his eyes following the ship as it lifted into the dark. Its engines glowed faint blue like a ghost rising from the void. Sora stood beside him. "Do you think we can win?" she asked. Jamin took a deep breath. "We don't need to win," he said softly. "We just need them to remember." For a moment, no one spoke. The silence was heavy, but not hopeless. Humanity had lost everything, but now they had purpose. The galaxy thought humans were weak, broken, and finished, but in that darkness something ancient awoke. The instinct to survive, the courage to fight, the fury of a wounded world. Operation Alien Extinction had begun. As the Black Phoenix disappeared into the stars, Jamin placed his hand over his chest, where the insignia of Earth still remained on his uniform. It was worn and faded, but he kept it clean. "For Earth," he whispered, and far across the galaxy, in the shining halls of the Varn Dominion, no one yet realized that the most dangerous enemy they had ever created was already coming for them. The stars had once watched humanity burn. Soon, they would watch the galaxy burn in return. Titan was dark, cold, and quiet. Beneath the surface, humans worked tirelessly. They had no time for rest and little hope left. Yet, in their exhaustion, they built the weapons that would strike fear into the galaxy. Commander Kim Sora walked through the halls inspecting the progress. She passed rows of engineers, scientists, and soldiers who worked together in a way that surprised even her. Humanity had never been so united. Engineer Choi Da-bin was at the center of the project. She was young but brilliant, her mind sharp and quick. She studied alien technology with careful hands, dismantling devices the Varn had left behind and learning their secrets. Her goal was to create ships and weapons that could outsmart the enemy. Each night she stayed late in the labs testing new systems for the Black Phoenix. She had watched her home planet burn through live feeds, and every day the fire inside her grew stronger. Jamin, now a captain, walked alongside her one evening. He had become hardened, his face lined with grief and determination. "Is it ready?" he asked quietly. Dabin shook her head. "Not yet, but soon. We are learning their weaknesses. Soon we can strike anywhere." Across the moon, the Ghost Legions trained. They were humanity's most elite soldiers, handpicked for speed, skill, and courage. Led by Sora, they moved silently through obstacle courses, testing alien camouflage devices and practicing infiltration. Every exercise was designed to prepare them for the impossible missions ahead. They had to move like shadows and strike like lightning. Failure was not an option. The human fleet, small at first, began growing. Ships arrived from colonies around the solar system. Mars, Ganymede, Callisto, and even the remnants of the moon's settlements sent their fighters and crews. Admiral Park Hyejin coordinated all movements from Titan, her commands precise and efficient. She knew that the strength of humanity was not in numbers, but in intelligence, speed, and the willingness to fight to the last. Dobbin's engineering teams worked day and night. They used Varn propulsion systems, weapons, and shields to design the Black Phoenix. The ship could move faster than any human vessel before, evade detection, and deliver devastating attacks. It was humanity's first real hope of fighting back. When the prototype finally stood complete in the Titan hangar, its black hull reflecting the dim lights, people stopped to watch. It was more than a ship. It was a promise of vengeance. Jamin inspected the Black Phoenix, running his hands over the smooth surface. He felt the power contained within. "They will not see us coming," he said softly. Sora nodded. "And when we strike, we will remind them of what they took from us." The teams also worked on smaller but equally deadly devices. Drones that could sneak into enemy fleets, strike silently, and escape before detection were tested. Human pilots learned to operate alien cannons, to hack their systems, and to fight in ways that no Varn soldier expected. Each success made them stronger. Each failure made them smarter. Meanwhile, the survivors told stories to keep their spirits alive. They spoke of Earth before the attack, its oceans, its mountains, and the people they lost. These stories were a quiet form of resistance, a way to keep humanity's heart alive in the cold darkness of space. It reminded them all of what they fought for. Months passed. Slowly, Titan became a fortress and humanity became something new. They were no longer just survivors. They were hunters, planners, and soldiers forged in grief. Jamin and Sora met often to discuss strategy. They studied Varn fleets, learned their tactics, and devised ways to counter them. Every meeting was filled with maps, holograms, and simulations. They imagined the battles ahead in detail, knowing that mistakes could mean the end of everything they still had. One day, Dobbin discovered a weakness in the Varn communication network. With a few adjustments, humans could intercept messages and even send false orders to enemy ships. This meant that attacks could be precise and deadly, hitting the Empire where it hurt most. The discovery was celebrated quietly, without fanfare. The engineers and soldiers knew that their advantage had grown, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. Sora tested the Ghost Legions on real missions. They infiltrated abandoned Varn supply stations and captured key data. They moved unseen, killed with precision, and returned without a scratch. The Empire believed humans were broken and scattered. They did not know that the hunters were already walking among the shadows. The morale on Titan rose slowly. People began to believe that humanity could strike back. It was not just hope, it was a plan. Each day, the fleets grew stronger, the weapons more lethal, and the soldiers more skilled. Jamin began to see the change in the faces of the men and women around him. They were no longer afraid of dying. They were afraid of failing. As Black Phoenix neared readiness, the time for secrecy was ending. Jamin and Sora held a meeting with Admiral Hyejin and the top commanders. Maps of the galaxy were projected in the room, showing the positions of Varn colonies. "The first strike will not be mercy," Hyejin said, her voice steady. "It will be a warning. They will learn that humanity does not forgive." Dobbin looked at the holographic display, her hands trembling slightly. She thought of Earth, of the billions of souls lost, and of the revenge that was coming. "We have the means," she whispered. "Now we have to act." In the weeks that followed, the humans conducted simulations and practice missions. Every strike, every maneuver, every tactic was planned carefully. No detail was too small. Even the smallest drone attack was rehearsed repeatedly until it was perfect. Humanity's pain had become its strength. Finally, the day came when the Black Phoenix was ready to launch its first mission. The hangar was filled with engineers, soldiers, and commanders. Jamin climbed into the ship, checking every system. Sora stood at the entrance, her face a mix of determination and pride. "Remember," she said, "we are not just fighting for survival. We are fighting to make them remember us." Jamin nodded. "They will never forget." The hangar doors opened and the ship rose into the cold black of space. It disappeared from sight in a blink. On Titan, the humans waited silently, hearts pounding, knowing that the first blow had been struck. Across the galaxy, somewhere in the Empire, alarms would soon sound. Their enemy was alive. Their enemy had learned to fight. And the humans were ready to make them pay. The galaxy had grown quiet. Too quiet. The Varn Dominion, confident that humanity was defeated, had returned to their endless conquests. But the humans were no longer weak. They had learned, trained, and prepared. The first stage of Operation Alien Extinction was ready. Captain Han Jae-min stood on the bridge of the Black Phoenix, watching the stars pass by at speeds impossible for normal ships. The ship moved like a shadow, invisible to sensors, ready to strike at the heart of the Empire. His hands gripped the controls with quiet determination. Every day, every sacrifice, every life lost on Earth had led to this moment. Commander Kim Sora led a strike team, the Ghost Legions, on a mission to disable a Varn supply hub on the distant planet Raxus. The world was full of military factories and transport docks, all protected by layers of shields and patrol fleets. But humans had learned patience, stealth, and strategy. They would strike like ghosts and the Empire would not see them coming. The mission began at the edge of the Raxus system. Sora's team moved through the shadows using cloaking devices and silent ships. Every soldier held their breath as the defenses passed by, their training perfect, their nerves steady. They reached the main facility, and with careful precision they planted charges that would cripple the supply network. Then, as silently as they arrived, they vanished into space. When the explosions erupted, the Varn Dominion could not believe what had happened. Their supplies were gone, and the humans had disappeared without a trace. Meanwhile, the main fleet, commanded by Admiral Park Hyejin, launched simultaneous strikes on Varn colonies in the outer systems. Using intercepted communication codes, the humans spread confusion, sending false orders that made the Varn ships turn on each other. Fleet after fleet fell to ambushes, Small human ships moving faster than anyone expected, hit hard and vanished into the darkness. On board the Black Phoenix, Jamin led a small squadron to intercept a Varn fleet moving to defend a distant colony. The alien ships were larger and more powerful, but the humans had learned to exploit their weaknesses. Using quick maneuvers, cloaking, and precise attacks, they destroyed enemy ships one by one. Every victory was a message. Humanity had returned. Engineer Choi Da-bin worked tirelessly, coordinating the drones and hacking systems. Her creations, small yet deadly, slipped past shields and sabotaged Varn engines. Even the Empire's best fighters fell victim to these silent attacks. Every success filled the humans with courage and fearlessness, for they were finally striking back for every life lost on Earth. The Varn Dominion realized too late that they had underestimated humanity. They had thought Earth's destruction would end human spirit, but instead, it had forged them into a weapon. Panic spread through the Empire's command. Their fleets became disorganized, making them easy targets for the human strikes. Systems that had been secure for centuries were now vulnerable. Fear had reached the highest ranks of the Dominion. On a captured Varn command station, human forces intercepted key communications. They learned of the Empire's plans to attack Mars and Titan. Acting quickly, Admiral Hyejin sent a squadron to set traps along their expected path. When the Empire fleet arrived, expecting an easy victory, they were met with ambushes, mines, and coordinated strikes that destroyed half of their forces. Every attack was precise, every movement calculated, and every victory a reminder that humans were no longer victims. Back on Titan, survivors watched the news from the front lines through live transmissions. They had waited years, but now the galaxy was seeing what humans could do. Cheers, tears, and quiet pride filled the halls of the fortress. Humanity had become something new, strong, fearless, and united. Each person remembered Earth. Each person remembered the 10 billion lost, and each person knew that this was only the beginning. Captain Jamin and Commander Sora met after a successful raid. The air smelled of burnt metal from the destroyed Varn ships. They were exhausted, but their spirits were high. "They won't know what hit them next," Sora said. Jamin nodded. "And we won't stop. Not until every colony remembers what they did to Earth." During one night mission, Sora's ghost legions discovered an enslaved alien species. The Varn had kept them as laborers, cruelly forcing them to work in mines and factories. Sora made a decision. Her team freed the aliens, arming them with weapons and giving them hope. These beings had never known freedom, but now they would fight alongside humanity. In the coming battles, their knowledge of the Empire's inner workings proved invaluable. In another system, Jamin's squadron intercepted an important supply convoy. It carried advanced weapons that could have reinforced Varn fleets. Using Dabin's drones and careful planning, the convoy was destroyed without a single human ship lost. The Empire's leaders were furious and confused. How could these humans, almost extinct, strike so effectively? Panic and fear spread through their ranks. As the campaign progressed, the humans became bolder. They attacked the Varn heartlands, sending a clear message. Earth had been destroyed, but humanity had risen. For every human life lost, billions of Varn forces fell. The galaxy began to whisper rumors about the humans, the once defenseless species who had become predators. Every night on Titan, the survivors celebrated quietly. The fires of revenge burned inside them. Families remembered, soldiers remembered, and the engineers who built the weapons remembered. They had turned grief into power, fear into strategy, and loss into action. Jamin walked among them, seeing the determination in every face. They were not just surviving. They were preparing to change the balance of the galaxy forever. The first wave of attacks had shown that humanity could fight the Empire. Every victory made the humans stronger and the Empire weaker. But both Jamin and Sora knew that the real test was still ahead. The Varn Dominion's heart would not fall easily, and the battles to come would demand everything humanity had. Yet, even in the darkest moments, the humans did not despair. They had been forced to endure the greatest loss in history, and from that loss they had grown unstoppable. The galaxy had assumed humans were finished, but now they were predators hunting in the shadows. The Empire's arrogance had blinded them, and soon they would pay the price. And so, as stars streaked past the Black Phoenix, Captain Jamin looked toward the horizon of the Varn Empire, knowing that the first stage of humanity's vengeance had succeeded. Operation Alien Extinction had begun and there was no turning back. The galaxy would remember humanity, not as victims but as hunters. The Varn Dominion was in chaos. Their fleets were broken, supply lines destroyed, and colonies falling one by one. Emperor Kael Varn could not understand how humans nearly wiped out had become such a threat. He paced the halls of his throne room, rage and fear twisting his face. The galaxy that had once feared the humans now faced their full fury. Admiral Park Hae-jin commanded the largest human fleet ever assembled. Tens of thousands of ships gathered from every surviving colony, each one armed with advanced weapons, cloaking systems, and the lessons learned from previous strikes. The humans were no longer a scattered remnant. They were a coordinated, unstoppable force. Titan's surface buzzed with energy as fleets prepared for the final assault on the Varn homeworld. Captain Han Jae-min led the Black Phoenix and his squadron toward the Empire's heart. They moved like shadows, avoiding detection, guided by precise intelligence from captured systems. Every crew member knew the stakes. Every human remembered the billions lost on Earth. This was not just war. This was revenge, calculated and cold. Commander Kim So-ra led ground forces alongside the elite Ghost Legions. Their target was the Imperial Palace on Varn Prime. The palace was massive, guarded by countless soldiers, automated defenses, and advanced weaponry. But So-ra and her soldiers were prepared. They moved in silence, using alien cloaking devices and exploiting weaknesses discovered by engineer Choi Da-bin. Every step was planned, every attack rehearsed. The first strike hit from orbit. Human dreadnoughts unleashed quantum singularity cannons, tearing through the Varn fleets like paper. The Empire's ships were powerful, but they were unprepared for the precision and speed of the human attacks. Entire squadrons were destroyed before they could even respond. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath as the humans advanced, unstoppable and relentless. Jae-min maneuvered the Black Phoenix through the chaos. His squadron engaged the best Varn pilots, striking quickly and disappearing before retaliation. The ship's cloaking systems allowed them to strike deep into enemy territory. With each destroyed fleet, the humans sent a clear message. The Empire would fall and humanity would not forgive. On the ground, So-ra and the Ghost Legions infiltrated the Imperial Palace. They fought through corridors, disabling defenses and eliminating Varn guards silently. The palace was massive and filled with traps, but the humans were precise. Every member of the Ghost Legions moved like a shadow, their weapons silent and deadly. They left no one alive to warn the Emperor. As the battle raged above and below, Da-bin coordinated hacking and sabotage. Alien drones disabled shields, opened gates, and created chaos within the palace. The Emperor's forces were overwhelmed, unable to respond to attacks from inside and outside at the same time. Their empire, once feared across the galaxy, was collapsing under the weight of human vengeance. Finally, So-ra confronted Emperor Kael. The confrontation was brutal. He fought with skill and rage, but So-ra's training and determination were stronger. She struck him down, ending his reign and shattering the Varn Dominion's leadership. Around them, the palace burned, a symbol of the Empire's fall. Humans had taken back control not just for survival, but for justice. Meanwhile, the planetary core of Varn Prime became the target for Da-bin's final act. She set the timers for a massive meltdown that would destroy the planet entirely. She knew it would cost her life, but she accepted it willingly. Humanity's revenge required sacrifice. When the explosion detonated, the capital was obliterated, and the galaxy felt the shockwave of the Empire's collapse. Da-bin's sacrifice became a legend among the survivors. Her name remembered as a hero who ensured the Empire would never rise again. The human fleets, battered but victorious, withdrew from the remains of Varn Prime. They had paid a heavy price, losing half their fleet in the final battles, but their enemy was broken. They had achieved the impossible. The heart of the Varn Dominion lay in ruins and humanity had survived. On Titan and across the colonies, survivors celebrated quietly. They remembered the billions lost on Earth and the sacrifices of their comrades, but they also knew that victory was theirs. Humanity had struck back with a power and skill the galaxy had never imagined. They had proven that no matter the loss, no matter the odds, humans would fight and rise again. Captain Jae-min, weary and scarred from battle, stood among the survivors on Titan. He looked at the night sky, where Varn Prime once shone as a proud world. Its destruction was a bitter victory, but a necessary one. Sora approached him, her face showing exhaustion and relief. "It's over," she said softly. Jamin nodded, though the weight of loss was heavy. "For now," he replied. Humanity had won, but the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral He-Jin addressed the fleet and survivors. Her voice was steady, commanding, yet filled with emotion. "We have struck the Empire down, but we must remember why we fight. We fight to protect humanity, to honor those we lost, and to ensure that no species can threaten us again." As the survivors looked to the stars, they knew a new era was beginning. Humanity had returned from the ashes, not as victims, but as conquerors in their own right. They had shown that even after unimaginable loss, they could rise stronger, smarter, and deadlier. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not forget. Humans were no longer to be underestimated, and on Titan, as the survivors rebuilt their fleets and tended to the wounded, the promise of the Terran ascendancy began to take shape. Humanity would rise again, stronger and united. The galaxy had seen their fury, and every being knew that the humans were not just survivors. They were the force that had reshaped the stars. Years passed since the fall of the Varn Dominion. The survivors of Operation Alien Extinction returned to a scarred Earth. The planet was wounded, its cities in ruins, its oceans polluted, but life had begun to return. Small green shoots emerged from the ashes and rivers began to flow once more. Humanity had been through unimaginable loss, but the survivors were determined to rebuild. Admiral Park He-Jin oversaw the reconstruction efforts. From the new command center on what remained of Seoul, she coordinated the return of colonies, ships, and fleets. Humanity had learned to survive in the stars, and now they applied the same knowledge to heal their home. Engineers, soldiers, and civilians worked side by side, repairing cities, purifying water, and restoring the energy grids. Every step was slow, but steady progress marked the resurgence of Earth. Captain Han Jamin walked through the ruins of his childhood city. The streets were empty, but he could feel the memory of life lingering in the air. Buildings had crumbled, yet the bones of the city remained. Children born after the war played among the ruins, their laughter echoing through the streets. The sound brought tears to his eyes, a mixture of sorrow and hope. The ghosts of those lost were never far, but humanity's determination kept the living moving forward. Commander Kim So-ra visited settlements across Earth and the colonies. She encouraged the people, training a new generation of soldiers and leaders. These young humans had never seen the horror of the Varn bombardment firsthand, but they were taught the stories, the lessons, and the courage of those who had survived. Sora believed that humanity's future depended not only on survival, but on strength, knowledge, and unity. The Galactic Council, once silent during Earth's destruction, now sent envoys to beg for peace. They feared the humans who had proven themselves unstoppable and relentless. Many species wanted alliances, trade, and diplomacy, but Admiral He-Jin refused to bow or negotiate lightly. Humanity would no longer kneel. They had tasted both vengeance and power, and they would chart their own course. In the heart of Earth's rebuilt cities, memorials were erected for the 10 billion lost. Each name, each story, each life remembered was a reminder of what had been taken. Humanity carried these memories not as burdens but as fuel for growth, courage, and protection. Schools taught history with care, ensuring that no generation would forget the lessons of survival and resilience. The Terran ascendancy was declared, a new era in which humanity would assert its place in the galaxy. Under this banner, humans did not seek simple revenge. They sought order, respect, and the assurance that no species could destroy them without consequence. They began uniting scattered systems, helping colonies rebuild, protecting vulnerable species, and establishing trade and military networks. But they never forgot the strength of fear and force, using them as tools when diplomacy failed. Jamin became a symbol of humanity's survival. He trained young pilots, sharing stories of courage, strategy, and sacrifice. Every training session included lessons on vigilance, resourcefulness, and the importance of unity. He never let anyone forget that humans had been pushed to the edge and had survived against all odds. Sora, meanwhile, helped build the new military academy on Mars, where the next generation of leaders would be trained. Her curriculum emphasized honor, courage, and intelligence, ensuring that no human would ever again be caught unprepared. Soldiers learned from history, from the battles they had fought, and from the mistakes that had cost billions of lives. Humanity had also embraced diplomacy. While they remained powerful, they reached out to alien species that had been oppressed or threatened by the Varn. These alliances strengthened humanity's influence and expanded their understanding of the galaxy. Former slaves, scientists, and warriors now joined human colonies, sharing their knowledge, skills, and loyalty. They had seen the humans rise from near extinction, and they trusted in their leadership. The memory of the Black Phoenix and its missions remained alive. Ships bearing its name patrolled borders, protecting colonies and symbolizing humanity's unbroken spirit. Stories of the ship's battles were told to children, a legend of courage and precision, and a reminder of what humans were capable of when united. Jamin often stood on a hill overlooking the rebuilt city. The sun rose over the mountains, casting light on the ruins now filled with life. He whispered to those lost, promising that their sacrifice had not been in vain. Humanity would protect their planet, their people, and their place in the galaxy. They would never allow themselves to be victims again. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity, not as weak and fractured survivors, but as a species forged in pain, loss, and relentless determination. Humans had risen from ashes, rebuilt their world, and reached into the stars with strength unmatched. And as they looked to the future, they knew that the memory of the fallen would guide them. The lessons of survival would protect them, and their resolve would make them unstoppable. Under the banner of the Terran ascendancy, humanity stood ready. Their fleets, armies, and alliances were strong. Their leaders, engineers, and soldiers were wise and capable. They had survived the greatest loss in history and emerged stronger than ever. The galaxy could no longer see humanity as simple prey. They were guardians, conquerors, and a force that would shape the stars. Captain Jamin and Commander Sora watched over the new generation, knowing that the legacy of Earth's survivors would continue. Humanity had faced extinction and had refused it. They had learned, adapted, and conquered. The galaxy would remember the names of the 10 billion lost, and it would remember the humans who rose to avenge them. And on the rebuilt Earth, with cities thriving, oceans flowing, and the stars shining above, humanity took its place among the stars, not as victims, but as masters of their destiny. The words of the survivors echoed through every corner of the galaxy. We are the extinction you created, and we are the guardians of the future.